Well, good afternoon, you wonderful lot. Great to be back on a live stream. It's been quite a while. It's been several weeks and it feels kind of strange to be back on a live stream. So if you could do the usual, which is just let me know, can you hear me? Can you see me? Does everything look okay? Sound okay? And then we'll go through a couple of welcomes. And then obviously I'm going to bring on my amazing guest, Maxim today, or not Maxime today, Maxim. And we'll have a conversation about advanced thema, about bricks, about WordPress, and about developing plugins that help thousands of people become more effective and more efficient. So if you could let me know if everything looks okay and sounds okay, that would be absolutely phenomenal. And then we'll crack on with a couple of welcomes. So who do we have in today? I can see a good few people in, which is great to see. Thank you very much for joining in. So we've got Michael. I'd like to visit Wales too. I'd like to visit a sunny Wales, and I live there. Marco, good to see you in as well. Ray, good to see you. WP Easy. Phil, always a pleasure to see you in. Steve, who lives in sunny Wales as well, when it's sunny occasionally. We've got Tor, good evening to you. Oh, good afternoon, I should say. Richard, Humberto. Rich, how you doing, sir? Panna. We've got Peter in. We've got Andy Tate in. We've got Mario in. Els is good to see you in as well, so thank you very much for joining in. And excellent. Thanks, Ray, for letting me know. Okay, so you can see in you. Good to see you, Mark. How are you doing, young man? Hope you're doing well. I see you doing a lot of great stuff on YouTube again, which is cool to see. A lot of collabs and things. And Mr. Dave Foy is in. Always a pleasure. I got my sunglasses on as proof in sunny Wales. I think it's just sunglasses for optimism. So we'll say no more. Anyway, before we go any further, I want to quickly say thank you very much for joining in today into the live stream. I've been really excited about talking to Maxim today and just having a chat in general. So it can be pretty laid back. And as always, if you've got any questions at all, if you could simply just do #Q, that's #Q for question. It means that we can keep track of the questions and it's a little bit easier to find out what's a question and separate that from just general comments and things. So with that being said, I'm going to bring Maxim on now and say a good afternoon. So, Maxim, how are we doing, sir? Are you okay?
Hello, Internet.
There we go. Dave will be happy.
There we go. I'm fine here. How are you?
I'm very, very well. And thank you very much for taking the time out of your day and joining on this live stream. It's a pleasure to actually be able to sort of speak face to face, which I know we've done it via messages for a little while now, but it's nice to actually put a voice to the face to the, you kind of get what I mean, I think. So how are you? How's your day been so far?
Yeah, I'm super excited to be in this live stream, to be honest. For me, it's like an Oscar of the WordPress ecosystem, right? You got to be in the Paul live stream to be someone in the WordPress community. So super thrilled to be here and answer any question from you and the community. Super excited.
Brilliant stuff. Well, for anybody that's joining in that may not know, and I'm pretty sure that everybody that's joining in today does know, Maxim is the coder, the developer, the brains behind Advanced Theme, which is an amazing plugin for enhancing the way that you work with Bricks Builder. Not only does it bring a lot of great new features, but it also opens up a lot of possibilities to just streamline and speed up your workflow. Now myself, I've been using it since probably not long after Maxim actually released it, and I've seen it develop and grow and become something that, to be honest, if I don't have it installed, if I'm doing a tutorial, I don't know where half the things that I need are. It's one of those things become an integral part to my entire workflow. It's part of my blueprint setup. And I'm speaking to Dave Foy and several other people. They're exactly the same. So I think my biggest question would be, what made you decide to start a project like Advanced Thema? What was the kind of thought process and reason behind it?
Yeah, so my Advanced Themer was born because my intention was to create a design library initially. When I started, a lot of different design libraries popped inside the Facebook group, and I said, okay, I could do my own design library. But to do that, I would need some tools to manage my CSS variables, my colors, my classes. And so I started working on customizing my tools to my future design library, which I never did at the end of the story because I keep working on these tools, on these announcements, and Advanced Themer became a totally different tool that I initially thought about. And then when I started the sales, like one year ago, people were was mainly thrilled about the announcement, the builder tweaks. So I thought, okay, there might be a request from the community to add more things to the builder, to streamline the workflow, and maybe the design set is not the first priority I should focus on right now. And I started building more and more. And when I first started Advanced Themer, there was like 70 features, around 70, and now it's more than double that. And it's out of control right now.
I think it's probably because you don't sleep. I think every time we turn around, this is what's coming in the next version, and it's like everyone's like, really? Do you ever take time away from the screen? You know, but
yeah. I must say I have sleep problem issues, so I sleep like 5 hours a day. And I'm always tired, okay. But the good thing is I have more time to work on Advanced Themer and all those stuff. But I'm also spending a lot of time on Facebook and interacting with people and of course all the documentation, which is the main time I dedicate to Advanced Themer, of course.
Oh yeah, documentation, the bane of every developer's life. I think that would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was playing around, like I think I said just before we came on. I was playing around with the latest beta release and the image position feature on there, which I'll probably be releasing a video on this week, because I think this kind of is the ethos behind a lot of what you do with Advanced Themer, which is to take things that we do every single day and just generally look for a way to make them easier. And I think that's probably one of the key reasons why so many people have adopted Advanced Themer and made it part of their tech stack, their everyday tool set. And where do you get your inspiration from? Is it the community? Is it things that you come across, hurdles you've come across yourself? Or, what's the where do you get your ideas and your inspiration for the features you release?
Yeah, I would say mainly from the community. So I would say maybe 80 or 90% of the features implemented inside Advanced Themer are actually ideas from the people inside the community, and say, yeah, it would be great if we would have a tool to create our CSS grid, and say, yeah, it would be great. So my first reaction is always, that sounds really complex. I don't want to do that. It will take like weeks to code, right? And then I start coding, and I really enjoy coding. It's something I really enjoy doing. And I start, and often it's like, okay, after 2-3 days, I have like a prototype that say, okay, it may works. So I just keep working on it, and after a bit, there's some feature coming up from this work, and always the first impression, the first try is not the final one, because when I publish a big feature, I'm always looking forward to hear what the community says, and I tend to release then a version 2 or version 3 from the feedback I get from the community. And it's like an always working on process to refine and get the feature at the best I can do, and that serve the community the best.
I think that's one of the things that is nice about the community, like the majority of the Bricks community, is that people are really passionate about taking a product like Advanced Themer. And let's take an example, your CSS grid. I know when you released that, you released a couple of like teaser videos, and you could see, okay, this is quite cool, the way this is going. And then you released version 1, shall we say, of that feature. And it's like, oh, this is useful. But you very quickly took on board the feedback, and probably from your own experience where you were experimenting more with it, And where it is now is very different to where it was when you initially released it. You know, it was very simplistic to start off with. You didn't have your min-max functions in there and all the different things. And it was like, oh, this is cool. But then within a matter of a week or two, it's like, okay, now this has become a seriously much more powerful feature. And I know from my point of view, I think CSS Grid is incredibly powerful, but I hate having to sit down and work out what I want to do and then across the breakpoints and all that kind of thing. So something like the CSS Grid Builder inside Advanced Themer makes it so quick and easy. And I actually think that's a really, really positive way. So I love the fact that you do, listen to the community to give you inspiration, but then also listen to the feedback to make the tool much better in a very short space of time. You know, we're not waiting 6, 12 months like we see with some other product where the idea is good and the initial releases are very minimal, very sparse in their feature set, and it takes a long time to get to the point of being fully useful. So I love the fact that you don't sleep, sorry, and that you do have an open, so like one ear is always on the community while you're building and developing these things. So I think I can speak for myself, but I can probably speak for a lot of other people in the community that we really do appreciate the care, the time and the attention that you actually spend in the community and then listening to it and taking the best pieces to make the product even better. So kudos for that. I think it's a fantastic way.
Thank you.
And I know that you, like you say, you are very active in the community, not just about Advanced Themer, but just the community in general. And again, I think this is one of the things that if you look at what people say about you, and I'm going to be polite here, it's always positive. Do you know what I mean? It's always that there's a very positive vibe about what you do, because I think because of your activity, because of your prevalence in the community and things like that. So it's good that you do that. So long may that continue, I think is the most important thing to say here.
I have my haters too. I say hi to them. Yeah.
You're not doing a good job unless you have haters.
yeah, right. It's part of the game, right?
It is. I think the only people that don't have haters are the people that don't have opinions, because then you can't offend anybody. So, you know, if you have an opinion, you'll offend somebody. So
yeah, right.
we'll leave it there. So the other thing I want to sort of say is, I want to talk about is, I know that was Advanced Theme is built around ACF Pro. And ACF, Advanced Custom Field Summary, that's not sure, they changed their licensing, which I think was a little bit unfair, to be honest, the way they did it. You know, a lot of people have built products on top of that original licensing agreement on the Pro version. And then to kind of revoke that, while I understand why they want to do it, I think was a little bit harsh. How did that kind of affect you at the time, you know, to sort of, because I can imagine it'd be a bit of a blow that it could have quite a long knock-on effect to the product in the future. I mean, was that something that kind of knocked your confidence in moving forward using ACF Pro as the kind of functioning? And did you look for any alternatives, or did you just stick with that? I think that makes sense as a question. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. So, first of all, I've always been a big fan of the work of ACF, and yeah, it was really natural for me to integrate it while the license would allow it. I never expected or thought to do something not allowed by ACF itself. But since the previous policy was allowing third-party plugins to integrate it to manage the settings and things inside the plugin, I just say, okay, let's just use what I'm confident with, and I think it brings value to the end user. And yeah, lately they changed their bundling policy, which as you said, I understand why they are doing it. Do I think it's a great move from them? I don't know. The future will say it probably, but it created some doubts inside the Advanced Themer community for sure, because people were starting using it, building their own website, and thought, what do I need to do if the bundling is not available anymore in AT? But to be fair, I never wanted to sell ACF. I'm not an ACF seller. I'm an advanced themer seller. So I never wanted to gain some activity from the work of another, right? So I never myself published any information about the bundling on my website. I just didn't want to create that sale pitch, which wasn't allowed from ACF. But anyway, I wouldn't use it to create my own sales channel, right? And but hey, people were using it, so they needed we needed to find a solution with ACF to see how my customer will deal with this new policy, which was it created a lot of misunderstandings for sure, and a lot of support tickets for myself. But all in all, I think people understand what's going on, and not blaming directly me or Advanced Themer for the change in ACF. And it's quite fair, honestly, if my customer heavily working with ACF, it's fair, in my opinion, to get a license and manage their own updates, and get access to the ACF support and support the developer behind ACF, which are quite active lately. So ACF was a bit we didn't understand where they were heading at some point last year or a couple of years ago, and now I must say they are active. They are bringing new features, the custom post type builder, and a lot of stuff. So props to them, and one reason more to support the team for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I can appreciate why they would have done what they've done, and like you say, I think since they were bought, what's it called, WP Engine have bought ACF. Yep. I think that was the best thing, because
absolutely.
When Delicious Brains had it, I think Delicious Brains didn't really know what to do with it, and I think I know from my point of view, they peed a lot of people off with their trying to go, lifetime licenses. Well, you might not have to have that anymore. You might have to pay. And it's like, that's not going to go down well with people. No. So I was glad to see
kind of a revolution on Twitter and Facebook. Like, people were messaging saying, "Let's sue them." Right?
There was a lot of civil unrest.
yeah.
But
exactly.
But you can appreciate it, and I think WP Engine, where they bought it, they've actually approached it in the right way, which I'm glad to see, because I did have my concerns when they bought it. Were they going to kind of do like that bait and switch thing as well? But thankfully, what they've done is they've taken it on board. They've embraced the lifetime holders, and like you say, they brought in custom post types and taxonomies. So we've removed that need for reliance upon another plugin, or however you kind of go working about it. So it's good to see that ACF is now definitely alive and kicking, as opposed to that period of stagnation, which I think definitely gave products like Metabox and things the ability to catch up in a lot of areas, because Metabox wasn't as well adopted as ACF was. And I think where Delicious Brains bought them, were probably the beginning of WP Engine having them. I think that allowed Metabox to gain ground. And I think that's why there's probably a lot of people using Metabox, which previously would have probably or did use ACF. So, but I'm glad to see that while it caused a rift, should we say, a period of unrest with Advanced Theme, where people were like, oh, hang on, I bought this for that. Which, to be honest, from my point of view, is like, if you bought Advanced Themer for ACF Pro, that's kind of your fault if you did it that way. It's like, you should have bought Advanced Themer for Advanced Themer. If you got to use ACF Pro free, should we say, because you bought that, then win-win. But to buy it specifically for that, I think that's a risk, and the risk didn't pay off for some people,
and I'm continuously trying to add value to Advanced Themer, so the people, my customer that actually paid for Advanced Themer, get the value from the feature that I create, and not because it has a couple of features and then there is ACF, right? ACF is like I always saw that the cherry on the cake, right? If you can use the pro fields inside Advanced Themer, right? Great, but if you are building professional websites for clients, like maybe managing ton of money, do you really want to rely on a plugin which is updated by another person? No, you just want to spend these $100 for the normal license from ACF Pro. And if you have any issue with this, you can contact the support and know that you are in a community where you are supporting a developer, the developer is supporting your customer, and this is the ecosystem that we should want to create inside the WordPress ecosystem.
Absolutely.
This is my vision of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've talked about. I released a video a couple of weeks back about the unrest that was sort of towards developers because of, quickly and things like that. How quickly, pardon the pun, that disappeared.
Yeah.
But I think this is the important thing that I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand, is that people like yourself, a one-man band, lots of companies have started in that way, and they've created a product or products that people have adopted, embraced, become part of their everyday workflow, and that's allowed them to keep money going back into it. Well, where you stifle that, we lose people like you. And I think the ecosystem then becomes a lot poorer for that loss of innovation. So I think you're absolutely right that we do have to support developers. And that's not just solo developers or small companies, but companies like, WP Engine with ACF, for example, like Metabox, like ACPT. These started as one-man bands. I mean, you think Elliot, who started ACF for many, many years.
Yeah.
Without him, I mean, ACF is still probably the biggest custom post type plugin out there. It's still the one that most people refer to and use. Well, that's because it was a solid product. And we need people like that to bring that innovation and that ease. I can remember using ACF way, way, way back before we had anything that would allow you, like Elementor and Bricks, that would allow you to easily reference that data. But it opened my eyes to what you could do outside of what WordPress is allowing us to do. So we absolutely need to be supportive of creators and sort of product developers. And we need to be realistic about pricing. I think this is the kind of weird one, and I'm sure you probably struggled with this pricing, Advanced Themer. You've got some people saying like the whole WordPress plugin pricing thing is too cheap. And then you've got other ones that go, it's too expensive because the exchange rate in my country is so-and-so, and there's no parity pricing and so on. So did you have a struggle with that side of things when you were looking to release Advanced Themer as a paid product, and then obviously the on and off periods that you've done like lifetime deals and things? Did you struggle with pricing, or did you kind of like settle on that really quickly?
Yeah, pricing is for me is something I'm not super confident with. It's hard to give a value to it, and at the first time I started Advanced Themer, to sell Advanced Themer, it was really, I was struggling to say what could be the fair price for a product like that. And to be fair, I think it's expensive. And if I think about all the people or the developers from third countries, and they're probably struggling to afford a plugin like Advanced Themer, and I completely understand it. But to be fair, I didn't receive a lot of critiques about an excessive pricing, because I believe the value is there. And if you have a plugin that gives you the value, and you can maybe spare hundreds or thousands of dollars a year for your agency, or if you're a freelancer and you are building a website for clients. I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but we are still talking about a couple of hundreds of dollars. And these are prices that you probably could do in one build for most of the freelancers and the agencies out there. And for those applying really low prices, maybe a couple of builds, but we are there, right? The range is about it. And if the plugin is bringing value on the table, then the price is a secondary concern from my perspective. But I know as a customer, when I have to purchase like my annual license for ADD, for easy digital downloads, and I have to pay like $300 or $400, I always think it's a lot of money. But I also think this allows me to sell my product, so it's totally fair to pay this price. And I understand that there is a psychological limit when you have to pay these hundreds of bucks, and you say that's a lot of money. But if you are a professional, you know that you have to pay professional tools to build professional stuff and get more money for that. And the main target for advanced themer is probably professionals in this field. So most of my customers are freelancers, agencies, and people that build a website for money, not just for their own hobby. And then for them it makes more sense probably, and they are more keen to see the value behind advanced themer. So for the pricing, I would say I'm quite how to say this. I have no too much trouble to deal with my possible customers for the price.
That's fair enough. It is a difficult one, like you say. I know for me with courses, it's probably easier to put parity pricing in for courses, but when you know how much time you spent to create that product or service or whatever it is you're kind of selling, it is difficult to kind of go, okay, well, because of the exchange rate in that country, which isn't my responsibility, should I drop the price in that country so they can purchase it at a comparable price to what we would pay in the West or in Europe and things like that? So it is a difficult one. So I totally agree with you there. But with something like advanced themer, it's not like it's needed or required to be able to build a website with Bricks. You don't have to have it. Same as you don't need to have a library like Brixies or Bricks Maven. They're things that help you become more proficient and efficient, and therefore you can still charge the same amount of money, but if you can get the project completed in 70% of the time, then you are more profitable. So that investment was worth the money you paid on it. And I think not everybody sees it in the same way. They just look at how much money it is. Like you've said, with EDD, you probably couldn't sell as easy as you do, and the customers' experience and the ease in which they can purchase it wouldn't be comparative, and therefore you may lose sales. So at what point do you say the cost of that is outweighed by the amount of money that I can make and the ease in which I can make transactions? And I think that's not always the way that people see those purchases. It's how do they save their time, their money, and become more profitable, and so on. Okay, so I've got a question. I've got a couple of questions here, and there's a recurring one. And let me just see if I can find the one that's the most succinct on here. Basically, you're saying, would you ever make advanced themer or a sort of similar tool for another builder? Let's just say Elementor or Breakdance or something like, or Oxygen or something, or are you 100% all in on Bricks, and that's what you want to focus on, not to dilute your skills, talent, and time?
Yeah, so never say never. Okay, I don't want to. Maybe in a couple of years, I will come with advanced themer for Elementor, which would be a great idea, because I think Elementor have like millions of users, and probably from a financial point of view, it would be the smart thing to do. But I must say I'm really enjoying the Bricks ecosystem. The structure that Thomas and team created make it easy for me to just modify it as I want, to implement new things, and I value a lot the creativity that you can express as a developer. I wouldn't like to do things that I don't enjoy doing, right? And Bricks allows you to be creative and to implement your ideas without fighting the tool. And and I'm really enjoying that side as a developer. And yeah, right now I'm 100% focused on bricks, and also there are people like they are saying, well, we have the main features in bricks already, right? You will have to find another ID or another platform, and I don't think so. I think there are a lot of things you can imagine to make bricks even better than it is right now. So I'm totally confident in the future that there's still a lot of works to do in the bricks ecosystem for sure.
Absolutely, and that's the nice thing. I think bricks is still early enough in its development to be still pushing forward with ideas and taking ideas on board and not being too too scared to be able to implement them. You know, if you take a look at some of the big players like Elementor, for example, they're at that point now where they've got such a massive user base that making, you know, significant changes is difficult. You know, in the same way as WordPress, when they're trying to push Gutenberg on everybody, it is very, very difficult because they've got such a massive user base. Bricks, while growing, doesn't have that hurdle to jump over. And like you say, it means that it's easier for you then to be able to plug into that and work alongside it. And I think that's the nice thing, is that I think Thomas has been very, very smart in how he's put together bricks and the sort of the vision he's got for bricks moving forward. So it's great to see that we've got someone like that, because in the sort of the conversation I've had with him, and I'm sure you probably had conversations with him yourself, he definitely comes across as someone that knows what he wants with bricks and is open to create that without being confined by investor money or chasing another market that they're trying to get into, you know, trying to take a chunk out of Elementor. I think the typical user, like you say, with bricks is probably more of a professional, someone that is not just creating something for themselves. They're more working for an agency, they're a freelancer, they're working with clients. And that probably means that creating a product like Advanced Themer means that you are targeting probably a more specific market than just general, like we've got with a lot of the Elementor plugins. Yeah, do you kind of think, do you know what I'm saying? Do you kind of see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Because my impression when I work with bricks and when I hear Thomas and the few talks we had together is you feel that bricks is a product that come from the imagination of a developer. So you see that the first intention wasn't to create a super sale deal to make a lot of money and to exit after 2 years. You see that Thomas is a passionate guy, and he wanted to create what for him was the best way to create themes in WordPress, and he put a lot of efforts to make what from his point of view was the best thing for a developer mind. I'm not sure I'm clear when I'm with this concept, but it's really clear for me that it's a form of developer art, because it's the expression of what a developer would like to have when dealing with a website, right? And the freedom that bricks gives you in terms of structure, code, and all the possibilities you get, it's endless. You have the feeling that the freedom that bricks give you is endless. And this is not a feeling that you commonly feel with other builders, because I can talk about it for years. I've been a Divi guy. Sorry about that if you didn't know community, but I was super active in the Divi community. And of course I was fighting the tool because it was opinionated and it was in a certain way, and I enjoy doing that, but also was struggling also to fight the tool. And bricks is the opposite. It's do what you want, express your ideas, and no limitation. And that this is fantastic. It
is. I think since I've sort of started really getting stuck into bricks and developing and building projects and, going all in on bricks as opposed to sort of just dabbling with it, it's kind of made me feel a lot more like when I used to work with Dreamweaver years ago, when I actually create my own content management system in Dreamweaver, so you build something expandable and you start to create things, and it's like you build a structure that allows you to be creative. And I think that's definitely what Thomas has done with bricks, is he's giving you, all the tools you need to be able to be effective, but without getting in the way of you being able to be creative. And I think that's one of the things I think is really nice about it. And where I think people look in from the outside and they're sort of like very sort of, you need to be a developer to understand this. And I don't agree, and I never agreed with that. I think if you're a developer, you get more out of it, but you don't need to be one to be able to use it. You can use it like Elementor if you want to, but you'll get more out of it if you start to invest your time and efforts into it. So I think, like you say, what Thomas has done is he's come in with a developer's point of view and gone, right, what tools would I want if I wanted to create websites? And I wanted a tool to make that easy, but also give me enough flexibility that I'm not hampered by the tool itself. And I think that's refreshing.
Yeah, genius. Yeah.
So I when you come from Divi, I started out with like Visual Composer. That was my first foray into page builders, and yeah, exactly. But the thing is, Divi and Visual Composer had a lot of the same limitations. Everything was tag based, and once you turned everything off, there was just crap everywhere. So I can understand why Divi have gone back and said, right, we're going to start fresh. What we're going to see there, I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out when they release Divi 5. But I think at least they realized that they're coming to the limitations, the end of life of how Divi was created. And they couldn't have been blind to looking around at tools like bricks and thinking, we can't compete with that long term. They've got a lot of tons and tons of people on board, thousands, probably millions of people. But there's only so long people will stick with a tool that hampers them in certain respects or makes the process of building sites slower. I mean, I hate the Divi interface. I think it's absolutely terrible. That's something I'd fight with just to use it. Whereas jumping into something like bricks and Elementor, originally, it was a breath of fresh air because they were more, you could focus on the design, without having to jump back and forth between the front end and the back end, which is what Gutenberg suffers from. That disconnect between the front and the back end, it makes designing with it painful, So it's lovely to see that bricks and the new era of builders, should we say, have adopted a much more visual way of working. And like I say, I think Thomas had the benefit of seeing what other builders had done and what was working for them, took the best bits out of tools like Elementor and Oxygen and so on, and created a hybrid that gives, in most cases, the best of all worlds, as opposed to a good bit there, but this is a bit of a pain, a good bit there, but that's a bit of a pain. And for me, dynamic content being so easily implemented, but also, if you want to delve into it, so powerful inside bricks itself. It's just great to see that we've got access to something as good as that right now to be able to create websites. And I think more people just really need to get on board with it and forget this developer mindset that you have to be one to be able to use it, and embrace it. Try it for free. I mean, you can try it on the, I can't think of the name of it, but you can spin up a website, I think, for about 7 days and play around with it, watch some tutorials and get a feel for it. I think it's great. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. I did have another question, but I can't think what it was now.
Okay.
We'll pass on that one. There are a couple of questions coming up, but before we go on, I want to say two things. One, if you're enjoying the live stream and you're enjoying Maxim spending his time today to get involved, answer questions, talk about advanced theme, bricks and WordPress and so on, give it a thumbs up, because it helps the YouTube algorithm know that you like this kind of content. And there's over 100 people in here and we've got 52 likes. So come on, give that a thumbs up. The second thing I want to say is it's great to see some great people in the actual chat today. We've got Design McCrackers in, we've got Daniel DeRosa's in, we've got Dave in from Dave Den, we've got Phil L from Spiderweb. We've got quite a few great people in today. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come and listen to myself rambling and talking crap, and Maxim saying hello internet, which you need to do again because there's probably people that haven't heard that yet.
I will reserve it. I will tell it again in the best moment, maybe. If I don't
we'll do goodbye internet at the end.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect way to do it.
Right, let's have a little look at questions we've got, because I did see a couple of questions come in. Okay, so where are we? Els asked, what did you do before the launch of AT? I think you've answered that probably by being quite prevalent in the Divi community, but what were you doing in the Divi community?
Yeah, so actually I had a white label agency, which is still online, by the way, but I'm not actively working on it. But I mean, I still have a couple of clients that I work with, but I was mainly doing white label websites for other agencies in the world. And I focused totally on Divi. So I went 100% on Divi, which worked for me. So I'm always grateful for Divi and for other tools, because I think we are part of a history, right? I think this is a really important concept, that the history is not finished with bricks, and we are part of an evolution. So WordPress, when I started doing websites, WordPress didn't exist yet, right? I started with Notepad and Joomla and platform like this, and WordPress wasn't a thing at that moment. And I don't think, probably WordPress is not the end of the history too. So it could be tomorrow a new open source platform that completely overtake the free market of building website like that. No, so we are part of a history, and Divi was part of this. I think they are a great company. They created and a lot of things that now are obsolete for maybe for some people, and without tools like Visual Composer, like WP Bakery, like Divi, Elementor, you wouldn't have like Oxygen, Bricks, Breakdance, and Quickly doesn't exist anymore, but it exists, but it's a bit complicated. And probably without these two, Bricks, Breakdance, we won't have the next tools. So we should all be satisfied to be part of this history, and I'm grateful to be part of the Divi community for a long time, and now I switched into the Bricks one, and super happy to be in it. And maybe in future the things will change, so we can never say.
So there's this Advanced Divi, the Thema edition coming. Sorry, Advanced Thema, the Divi edition coming even.
The Divi edition.
The Divi edition.
We need to see, because Divi 5 is in progress, right?
It is. Have you had access to the beta version to try it yourself yet?
No, actually, I could have access, I believe, if I made the request, but I didn't, actually, because I'm not super excited about it, because my excitement right now is focused on Bricks. But I wish them, of course, the best, and I think they still have a good place inside the community. One thing that Divi was able to build in the time is a great community, and the people using Divi are usually super happy and satisfied about the plugin. And the community itself, if you chill inside the Facebook group, it's a really friendly place to be. So props to them for a lot of things they did. And of course, on the technical part right now, they are maybe kind of behind tools like Bricks and Breakdance. But now Divi 4 was released maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So it can become, Bricks didn't even exist when Divi 4 was implemented. So of course they have now some technical depth, but who knows? Because when they released Divi 4, they created some traction from the entire market, and so before they were doing Elegant Themes was only doing themes, not page builder. Yeah.
I remember.
And
I think I used one of their themes in a project years and years and years ago. Before, like you say, Divi was even a thing.
yeah, yeah. And who knows if they will be the next big player for a total new ID. I know they are working a lot on the AI component of the builder. Who knows if tomorrow AI will be the big thing and Divi will be on the first place for this thing. So it's fun to watch what is going on, right? And what will be the future. And I hope to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one other thing that Divi did, or Elegant Themes did very, very well, was the Divi marketplace. It was
absolutely
a good way for people to make money, with themes and things like that for Divi. And I think once you open something like that up and people adopt it, like they obviously have with Divi, then the product will sell itself to people, whether we like it or not.
Absolutely.
Divi is still a massive player in the market, It's not one that I particularly like, but it is still massive and still relevant. So I'm excited to see what they'll do with version 5, and I hope it will be something that will break the mold for the way that Divi has been kind of perceived. It would be good to have more players in the marketplace to, when there's more players, there's more competition. It's good for all of us, whether you use that tool or not. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll do. I know there's people sort of, not happy with certain aspects of the beta releases and things, but I'm interested to see where they go with it and how they push forward. And hopefully, once it's released, anybody that's got a lifetime license for Divi will have access to Divi 5, which I'm sure they will, because they've always been, pretty good with that side of things. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes with it. Okie doke, we've got a question here from Edward. Would you create a lighter version of Advanced Themer with less options? That's like asking to pick between your children, isn't
it? So the problem is for Edward that Advanced Themer relies massively on ACF Pro for the settings and the whole structure. So the problem is you can't bundle ACF Pro inside a free version or lighter version. I guess Edward means like a free version with less features. So no, I don't have plans to restructure the whole plugin to offer a light version because too much work, and I'm a lazy guy basically.
I think it would be one of those things that you have to support two different products, even though they're the same product with features stripped. It's still two different iterations that you have to maintain and update. And you suddenly, maybe not double your work, but you increase it considerably. Okay, absolutely. Brendan's got a question. So, Brendan, thank you very much for joining in. We were talking to you right back at the beginning. It was all good, I promise. No matter what Maxim said off camera, we've said nice things since then. So, would you halt new features in Advanced Themer if the future of bricks depended on absorbing Advanced Themer? Are we approaching the point where AT is a required add-on, and if that fractures bricks market long term? Oh, that's a deep question. What do you think?
That's a difficult one.
It is a difficult
one. I need to reread it to understand exactly what it means. So the future of Advanced Themer and bricks, basically, and the dependency of Advanced Themer. Well, I don't think Advanced Themer is a required add-on, because otherwise I would have 20,000 of people in my group, and every single bricks user would be using Advanced Themer, which is not yet the case, hopefully in the future. But I mean, I believe Advanced Themer is targeting one part of the market and one kind of user inside bricks, which is not probably a good match for everyone. I see a lot of people, which is totally fine, totally okay with me, that don't want to use third-party plugins for bricks and just stick with the native version of bricks, which is totally fine. I wouldn't say it's required, but of course I'm the seller. I can say it's useless, right? So I'm of course suggesting to have a look at Advanced Themer because I believe it brings values. But if tomorrow Thomas decides to have a call with me and say, let's talk about Advanced Themer inside the core bricks, I would be pretty interested to see how this conversation goes.
7 figures minimum.
Yeah, $1 million contract minimum.
Exactly. Okay, so here's a serious question that I think you may need to take a moment to consider before you answer it. So Steve wants to know, do you ever hit your head on the beams on the ceiling?
Do you ever hit your head on the beams on your ceiling? Lol. I don't understand. My English is not good enough to understand this question, Steve. Sorry about that.
It's a Welshism, obviously. Okay, so what else do we have? So Richard, would you consider making your own builder? I think that's a hell of a jump. But what do you think?
I mean, the people that think about it and are clearly, how to say, they don't understand my skills abilities. I don't have the skills to make a builder. I'm just a guy that announces what exists, but build a whole builder is something that you need a genius like Thomas to do this. And even if you're a genius like Thomas, it took probably several years to do. It's not something that he did in a couple of months, closed in his bedroom, right? It's a long time project. You can't just improvise and create a builder. So, do I have a project to create an entire builder by me, like a one-man show? Not really, not right now.
I think it's also reinventing the wheel. I mean, what would you do different to what Bricks currently does, other than add on all the things that you've brought in Advanced Themer into it? So you then just have like a hybrid of Bricks Themer or Advanced Bricks. Or,
Exactly.
Something like that. So, yeah. But let's be honest about it. Max has already talked about, something replacing WordPress tomorrow. So I'm pretty sure that what he means is tomorrow there will be Advanced Press Themer.
Advanced Press, by Maxim, of course. I'm actively working on that.
Right this minute. This is actually Max is actually pre-recorded. This is an AI avatar.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we have? We've got quite a few different questions here. I'm looking for the ones that I think... let's have a look. What have we got? As Bricks keeps developing new features that overlap with AT's features, what is the direction that AT will take in order to not to get devaluated or devalued? I think this was kind of mirrors the question that I was going to ask as well. Where obviously the beta version has been released yesterday of Bricks with one of the key new features, which is the sort of variable manager, and then prior to that, the CSS classes manager. Obviously, there's an overlap there with Advanced Themer. And I know we've kind of talked a little bit about this in the past, but what's your mindset with Bricks absorbing some of the features that, Advanced Themer already have? Would you then take those out of Advanced Themer or leave them in there and then let the user sort of decide whether they want to use the native functions or the AT functions?
Yeah, so good question, of course. Saying that I was jumping of happiness when I heard yesterday about the CSS variable manager would be a lie, right? But of course, at the same time, it's a complex feeling because I feel really honored that somehow I feel that Advanced Themer is pushing forward the Bricks community as a whole, and probably some inspiration here and there on other ecosystems. So it's also a great feeling to be recognized as doing something right. So mixed feelings about this. About the overlaps, I'm not too concerned about it because I think I proved myself during this last year to be able to bring continuous value. And if one feature disappears from Advanced Themer, I don't think it's a really tragic event. It happens. It's part of the game. I'm playing with Bricks code, okay, and it's of course Thomas code, and he decides whether he wants to add his own features. Of course, I would prefer myself, as a conflict of interest, of course, that Thomas would go on other directions and create tools and things that AT can't do. But I totally understand. I think it brings value, and in a certain way, it's also positive because yesterday when I heard about the CSS variables, my first thing to do is to go and see how it works, how Bricks integrated it now. And my first reaction is, okay, now I have to make CSS variables version 2 and integrate a lot of new IDs to make it stand even better than the core one. And I believe it's the same thing for Bricks. Maybe if I introduce a new feature, they will say, no, we won't let Advanced Themer get the best of it, and we will create another even better version. And at the end of the story, it's the best for the customers, I believe. So
it is, and I suppose
okay.
this is part of the danger of building any product on top of another product. You know, in the same way that WordPress tomorrow could say, right, we're getting rid of completely anything to do with page builders or theme builders. Everything is going to be full site editing. It is unfortunately that inherent risk of building on top of someone else's platform. But yeah. I think it would be probably virtually impossible for Bricks to keep up with the number of features you've released. So I think they've got a long way. They've got at least
it
the
will
next
be
10
demanding.
years.
Yeah.
Poor old Thomas.
It would be kind of problematic, but of course, I expect in the future and in the future in the next years that some of the features I created will be part of core, and it's totally fine. I mean, it's okay. About sunsetting some features, I've already done that in the past, and I'm planning to sunset, for example, the breakpoint indicators that was announced in the beta. There is no point to keep it in Advanced Themer because it does exactly this, right? Mm. But for example, the global class manager, which was first released by Advanced Themer and then Bricks, I decided to keep it because it brings other things on the table, other values to the table, and people that used to use a global manager from global class manager from Advanced Themer wanted to continue using it because it does a bit more than the core version. In this case, I leave it in Advanced Themer so that the user can decide whether to turn it off or on. So,
and I think that's the benefit, is that everything has the ability to be enabled or disabled in Advanced Themer. So as long as there's no technical conflicts there, then you are giving the end user the choice. If they've been using Advanced Themer's tools for the last 6 months and they're comfortable with it and they're confident with it, and like you say, it brings additional features, then I would imagine most people are going to carry on using it because it's part of their workflow, they're used to it, they're comfortable with it. And why would you go to something that just because it's native isn't necessarily as fully featured and maybe has some of the things that you really require that's not included in core? So I totally get that. And also, it's probably, I can imagine you'll sunset features as features become less important, nothing to do with whether Bricks adopts them. Like where, for example, you've now got the AT menu inside the editor, which previously you had loads of icons, but you still have the option, even though they're legacy, to be able to use those if that's the way your workflow flows. So, like you say, there's always going to be a state of flux because it's a product that's going to change as it grows and develops, and users kind of say, well, you find out that certain features, people just don't use it, so it's not point in actually being there. So yeah, I think I totally understand where you're coming from with that, and like you say, to be open to sunsetting things if it needs to, at least you have flexibility there should you want to do that side of things.
Yeah, I also want to add that the more Bricks will add new features, the more I will have possibility to enhance these features. No, so
Exactly.
tomorrow Bricks will release a component feature. I will of course have a look at it and say, can I add something that the user might need? Of course, I will check about it and trying to make a better product. So I don't see Thomas like focusing on we need to integrate every single AT feature. That won't happen. They will add some, and they are doing a great job about it. But it's not like I'm going to stop and watching them say, okay, I stop developing advanced themer. That won't happen. It will continue and following the path of Thomas. The more he's going to enhance the builder and the overall team, the more I'm going to work on it and trying my best to make it better.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, as new features are released, there's no new opportunities to release, Components 2.0, the AT edition.
Exactly.
It may be a little long-winded, but, I won't trademark it.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm conscious of the fact now that we've kind of come to the end of the hour. There's still a couple of questions, but there's nothing that I see as sort of like that important to sort of run through right now. So I think what I'll do is I'll start to wrap things up a little bit. First of all, I want to say thank you to Maxim for actually joining in today, taking the time out of his day to become part of the live stream. It's been an absolute pleasure. And also thank you to everybody that's joined in and asked questions, left comments, and become part of this. It's been pretty invaluable. So, thank you very much for joining in today. Hopefully we can do this again when you bring out AT version 15 in about a month's time.
Absolutely. Okay, tomorrow.
I thought it was WordPress, advanced.
Oh, yeah.
Press
That before,
theme,
right.
Whatever we termed it.
Sorry.
But so if anybody doesn't know anything about it, go to advancedthemer.com, but I'm pretty sure everybody does know about it. Thank you very much for joining in today. Hopefully
My pleasure, really.
It's been less stressful than you may have thought it would be.
No,
Coming onto a live stream.
It was great.
And thank you everybody for joining in. Thank you everybody that takes their time to not only become involved in this, but also create content around things like Bricks, around advanced themer and things like that. You know who you are. Thank you very much. And I'll see you all again pretty soon. Thank you very much, Maxime. And that's us out.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye, Internet.
Bye-bye, Internet.